It was definitely a hard thing, and I think it is such a betrayal for a spouse. It was hard. It was hard to realize that it was such a public and that loyalty was broken. For my heart, it was just like, how could this happen in our marriage? Josh was my first love. My only hope was to cling to my faith, because I know if I went off of what I was feeling, I would turn a mess into a disaster.
From Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's Wednesday, September 1st. I have had one of those weeks where I am constantly trying to keep myself in check between school starting, IEP meetings, doing the best content possible for you, keeping abreast of all the things Duggar, and also delivering you brand new content. And so yesterday we debuted the Duggars to a pretty good, I would say, good numbers for a brand new topic. I was pleasantly surprised. So we will continue on with the Duggars, as clearly you guys are enjoying that. Okay, now for the Duggars, we are going to talk about some stuff that came out by People and an update on court. And then we also will have a video today about Sister Wives, because TLC has announced a date for the next season. And if we have time, we'll get to a third video of undecided topics. Okay, let's start on this. Welcome to my channel. Let's catch up with the Duggars. Yesterday we talked about how there was a video going around on a YouTube channel essentially implying that Jessa Duggar was buying this house. It was very large. It was a huge model home, and one of my subscribers actually left a message or a comment in my comments and basically said that they had found this home actually listed for sale in Virginia. So clearly, that is not a home in Arkansas, as I told you before, and I'm not sure how that actually became a story, but Jessa's not buying that house. Okay, but what is going on is that Josh Duggar and his attorneys have been so busy, and while they've been busy, there has been a lot of movement in the Duggar family and some upheavals in how Jana has been going out and about and doing things on her own. She has debuted pants on her own social media. Some of you guys think that her traveling and somehow debuting pants is a Duggar distraction to get you off of what Josh is doing, and I don't think that's it. I just literally think that Jana has some freedom now, and that's a good thing. People actually sat down with somebody, an unnamed source, connected to the Duggars family source, and the family source said that the divide with the Duggars is bigger than ever, which I've told you guys about, I think, a couple weeks ago, and that everyone is sort of going on and pretending like nothing's happening, but that's actually not what's happening. So apparently this specific issue that's going on with Josh's arrest has caused a much deeper division in the family than what we saw when he was caught on Ashley Madison. Some of the siblings have sort of stepped away and sort of cut ties or distanced themselves from the parents and Josh, mainly Jill and her sister Ginger. And we have seen some, and that's just been like the public aspect of those that are separating from them publicly. Now, according to People, there's a division that's happening that we're not seeing, even though publicly they're acting like nothing is going on. Apparently, this has deeply divided the family and is causing a humongous rift between them, one that may not be able to be repaired. And we might start to see more and more rebellion in the future. This is what the source was quoted to saying to People magazine. They aren't as close as they once were because of all of Josh's legal drama. It's creating a lot of stress on them, and although the majority of the family is acting like nothing has happened. So it's a fractured family at this point, and it's different, they say, than the 2015 scandal because of the girls specifically not having sort of visceral reactions to it. Ginger making that very bold statement about how they wanted to see justice, and then Jill, who has also separated herself. Now, people claims that she has not seen her parents in 2 years. That's not actually true. She saw them at Jed's wedding, and if she attended Justin's wedding, she would have seen them at Justin's wedding. So she has seen her parents. Maybe she's not gone to their house in 2 years, but she's seen her parents, and her mom has stopped over at her house for things for her son last year for Israel's birthday. So she may have a very distant relationship from her dad, and she hasn't gone to the big house in 2 years, but she definitely has seen her parents in the last 2 years. What is going on with the family? Well, Ginger, we already know, is feeling that it's disturbing and they found it really bad, everything, blah, blah, blah. But here's the crazy part, and this is similar to what I was telling you guys about last week, is that Josh and Jim really think he's going to get out of this. So Jim Bob is investing so much money, so much time, and so much energy into this legal case because he truly believes that he's going to get out and he won't be charged. Here's the thing. He's already been charged. So that's already happened. Do they mean that there'll be an acquittal or something? But he's already been charged. So maybe they're saying he won't be found guilty. And that Michelle and Jim Bob 100% support Josh. So Jim Bob and Michelle, again, support Josh, who is doing deviant things, much like they supported Josh when he did deviant things to his sisters. Now that he's involved in this, they are supporting Josh even though he's involved in deviant things, and likely are just ignoring all of the facts and are going to stick to it's the government's fault, it's Trump's fault, it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault, it's the mysterious employee's fault. Why are they so invested in doing this? Because, as I've told you a million times before, it's not good for business, and Jim Bob wants to sweep this all underneath the rug. So the source says, Jim Bob always wants to sweep things under the rug. He's never going to talk about the scandal because it's bad for business. It's true. Jim Bob will not acknowledge what has happened. He will not talk about it because for Jim Bob, his business is more important than ever acknowledging the proverbial elephant in the room, is that your son is a sicko, allegedly, and has done some pretty sick and twisted things. Allegedly, he's innocent until proven guilty, but there's a lot of evidence that suggests that, he isn't innocent. But his team, as a result, has been trying to inundate the court with 5 motions. And today, in response to those motions, the government is requesting an extension of time because they said that they simply need more time to properly defend all of the motions that they filed. And this is something that I thought was interesting, and a strategy I was wondering is, were they going to try to overwhelm the prosecution and make them work really hard on this so that they would not be able to properly defend all of these motions? And it seems like they are asking for some time. So the government requests an extension, and they said that on August 20th, the defendant caused to be filed 5 separate motions, namely defendant's motion to suppress statements and request for an evidentiary hearing, defendant's motion to suppress evidence and request for a frank hearing, defendant's motion to suppress photographs of Duggars' hands and feet while in custody, defendant's motion to dismiss indictments on violation of the appointment clause, and the defendant's motion to dismiss for the government's failure to preserve potentially exculpatory evidence. They said, per the amended pretrial scheduling order, responsive briefs to the above listed motions are due 14 days after the motions were filed to the docket, which currently corresponds to September 3rd, in order for the government to fully and completely address all the issues raised by the defendant in the motions therein. The government respectfully requests a 7-day extension of the responsive filing deadline. If granted, the new deadline for the government would be for 5 days later, September 10th. In anticipation of this motion, the government has conferred with defense counsel, who have no objection to the government's request for the 7-day extension. Wherefore, the government prays the court will grant the extension of 7 days. So they want a little bit more time to properly respond to all of the motions, which it sounds like Josh's attorneys did not oppose. And so generally, if it's a unopposed motion, typically the court will approve the motion and they won't push back. And given the magnitude and the number of motions that they filed, it would be appropriate, in my opinion, that a judge grant that motion, simply because it's a lot to respond to. And I don't know if it was done intentionally, but it seems like it might have been done. So like, I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff at you, overwhelm you. You're not going to be able to properly defend it. You're going to have to do all of this stuff. And, you know, maybe we'll squeak by on a technicality. And this could be why Jim Bob and Josh feels so confident that they're going to get out of this, because they've come up with these ridiculous notions that Trump's appointment is legal and should affect Josh's case, or that that pesky employee that he downloaded the stuff, or the non-witnesses who they didn't even have anything on their phones. They didn't save the evidence, but it wasn't even evidence, and you know, all of their excuses. So the Duggars, obviously, after more than a decade, 2 decades, almost 2 decades on the TVs, are falling apart at the seams. And slowly you're starting to see a result of that publicly. The reason why I say that is because people keep saying that Jana is a diversion. And I don't think that's true. I honestly think that Jim Bob is in over his head. He's completely overwhelmed with everything going on with Josh. He does not have the time, the energy, or the means to control all 19 of his children. And that means that little by little, some of these kids are going to gain more independence, maybe get an exposure to the real world, get deprogrammed in some aspects, get access to the world outside of the cult, and maybe see things a little bit more clearly. Perhaps some of the kids will realize that, you know, everything that's happened in the last several years is a result not only of Josh, but perhaps of their dad spending all of his time and energy to get his son's name cleared. And I told you a few weeks ago, Jim Bob's motive is not about protecting victims. It's about protecting his name. And he cares about his business. He cares about their marketability and their profitability. And with his business in real estate and house flipping, it's contingent on his good name, and it's also contingent on his good name if he's going to get any sort of speaking engagements, book deals, or any more networks that might be interested in picking up their show. So for right now, this is what we've got. The unnamed source dropped a dime, dropped the goods, and the prosecutors want more time. What are your thoughts about this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.